Good evening to all of you. I have been a storyteller these past 15 years, mainly as a storyteller for children. I trained with Eric way back, and my focus had always been storytelling for small children. And only recently, uh, the Indian government has passed the as a national education policy 2020. I'm going to read out a little bit of that act. It says the National Education Policy NEP 2020 and NCF FS 2022 formally incorporate storytelling as a primary play-based pedagogical tool in India to enhance foundational literacy, numeracy, and cognitive skills. It promotes using Indian cultural and regional narratives to foster empathy, critical thinking, and holistic development in children. NEP 2020 emphasizes moving away from rote learning and towards experiential, enjoyable, and inquiry driven methods with storytelling at the forefront of foundational education. Now, the CBSE and the other boards are training teachers in narrative techniques to integrate stories into their daily lessons. Um, I run an organization called the Madras Story Works, where I offer teacher training for teachers across Tamil Nadu, both online and in person. And I am requested most schools to do teacher training only at the kindergarten or prime first, second, third grades. That is it. Most schools and principals, teachers, they feel they need a trainer to come in and teach them how to use the puppets, how to use role play, how to use body language and movement to get the story across and to get values that we want the kids to learn across through stories. It is very rarely that we storytellers are invited to come and help the teachers teach the kids science subjects by using stories. This is a little bit of a brand new idea. And if you search for material here, I think there's a not much reference. And there are reference books, of course, but what I'm trying to tell is stories that are geared towards teaching science. And for my workshop today, I have chosen how to choose stories to teach science subjects. Now, let us just do a deep dive into our topic and let us why use science to teach why use storytelling to teach science subjects? Because we all know what the storytelling is a very powerful tool and it has a great impact on children. And it gives context to the science concepts. It attaches emotion and curiosity that the child feels towards this, and this converts a concept into an experience that the child will remember for a longer time and not just by rote memory and reproduce it at the time of exams. So, this is the reason why we need to have storytelling to teach science subjects. Now, how do we use storytelling to teach science? I think the basic concept, the basic idea is we convert science subjects into stories. And I have had a lot of science teachers ask me this question. Ma'am, it's easy for you to say convert all your science concepts into stories, but how are we going to do it? It's not easy because it requires a lot of work on the part of teachers to convert any science concept into a story. And I have tried to help teachers by how many of you are teachers here? Is anybody? If you can raise your hands. You are wonderful. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy to see you. And I'm sure you will all help me through this workshop because it does need a little, even for me, this topic is a little new and I am trying to still figure it out. And I feel let's figure it out together. So, how? How is, first let us, can you, even if you want, you can, I'm going to do the screen share here and just let me see where this is it. There it is. Uh, this is the national education policy I told you about. Now let us first choose 10 science concepts. These are the simple, basic science concepts that anybody, kids in the age group of, let us say, 9, 10, 11, or 12 years old, would be learning at the fourth, fifth, sixth grade levels. And I have randomly chosen some from physics, some from chemistry, some from biology. As you can see, I have chosen things like gravity, the solar system, planets and moons, states of matter, water cycle, density, ecosystems and food chains, cell structure and function, digestive system, structure of an atom, simple machines, and spectrum or rainbow. So this is a generally like this is like a cross section of science topics that any teacher will have to teach a class of 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old children. So keeping these concepts in mind, um, we are going to not deal in detail with these concepts. That is not the purpose of our workshop. The purpose of our workshop is to create a format where it is easy for the teacher to convert these subjects into stories that can be used in the classroom. So, having said that, I'm going to go to my first thing. There, I have created three storytelling structures that teachers can reuse again and again and again throughout their academic throughout classes to teach to convert any story, any science concept into a story. The first concept I would call is the problem, the journey, and solution structure. We all know this structure because most of our most of fairy tales and stories that are familiar to us are based on this template. Can you type in the chat box any where's my Zoom? Here I am. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Can you type in the chat box, or even you can raise your hand and tell me a familiar fairy tale or any story where we have a heroine or a hero who leaves the home on a journey and they go and explore. They have an adventure. They have a problem. and then they learn something new. It brings a shift in their perspective, and or they struggle and find a solution, and then they have a decisive victory, a solution, and then they come back changed, and they come back to their original place, bringing victory and having succeeded and having won whatever they set out to do, having learned something on having gone on an adventure. Can you guess some stories like that, familiar ones that we know? Anybody at all, please? The
Jack and the Beanstalk.
yes, Jack and the Beanstalk. Yes, Jack and
Hans, Hansel with
Hansel and Gretel.
and
Yes,
enormous turnip.
enormous turnip. Yes. So all these are familiar motives for us. We call that the hero's journey. The hero's journey is this is this the an ordinary character, and then they leave the familiar, the comfortable, and they go on a journey which is adventurous, where they learn new things, experience new things, or they encounter a problem which is bad, which is hard, and then they find a solution, they overcome it, and or they use their intellectual abilities, and or they use the help of external agents to help them solve the problem. And once the problem is solved, they are victorious, they are happy, and equilibrium is restored. They come back to the home successful. They come back having solved the problem, and this is the most common motive, most common pattern that we can use for creating a story. And this story follows the classic beginning, middle, end, where we have the beginning, we have the characters, and then we have a problem, an issue that needs to be solved, and then we have a resolution, and then the ending is we come to a conclusion. This kind of a story, can you think of any science uh, stories that can use this same format and which can be used to tell a story? Okay.
Please repeat the question.
Can you think of any science concept, anything in science, yes, that can be used to use the same format and tell a story to a class? Okay.
Perhaps the water cycle?
Water cycle, yes. The water cycle, yes, it works. But that is I'm going to come to the water cycle in my next story structure. This one, yes, the water cycle does work. What you meant is the water droplet being brave. Yes, I understand. Yes, yes, it will work beautifully. Yes, the water is brave, and he squeezes himself, comes to the top of the ocean, and then the sunlight is evaporated. He becomes a gas. He goes higher up. He gets condensed and becomes a raindrop, and then he falls back to earth onto a river, and then he floats down, and then he reaches a cold place, and he converts into a solid, into ice. That's what you mean, right? Am I right, Sylvia? Is that what you wanted to tell?
Yes,
Yes,
where the
beautiful.
water takes the shape of a brave drop and has many experiences, but comes back to its original
Through,
form
through
eventually.
different,
But
great. Yes, yes, that would work beautifully. And for the same kind of principle can be applied to, let us say, something like photosynthesis. we can talk about a plant who's trapped in a dark cave, and then the plant does not have access to light or water, and but the plant needs to make its own food to survive. And then we can take the story forward, like how the plant he has to figure out how to make his own food, and how he struggles to send roots down and grow new leaves, and then somehow with the limited amount of light that is available, you grow new leaves, and then you with carbon dioxide it grows, it produces food, and then it produces oxygen, it produces glucose, and the leaf grows and it becomes stronger. And we can convert simple things like even we can title something like a day in the life of a leaf, and how the leaf allows moisture to pass through its veins, and how it collects from the atmosphere, it collects oxygen or carbon dioxide as it needs. And we can write like a biography of a leaf. And all these are exercises that can be given to kids, where they imagine things in nature as a character, the science subject. They imagine it to be a character, and they imagine the character going through the journey, and what they experience, how it happens, how you can say how the water filters out of the stomata, the small cells, and finally how it absorbs moisture from the roots, and how it is able to be a small factory by itself, and able to produce food and nutrition for itself to survive. So, this is the kind of storytelling that will make science interesting for the teacher to do a lesson in science in class. Now, the second, now I'm going, the next concept that I would like to explain will be the character itself is a concept. The character, the abstract idea becomes a character with personalities. Now, students will remember the qualities and behavior and cause, and not just the definition alone. So this is the kind of story where, for example, we spoke about the three states of matter, right? We spoke about something being a solid, a liquid, and then a gas. Let us give them names. For example, we can say solid Sam, and we can say gas Gary, and we can say liquid Lucy. Give them names, give the concepts names, and they have to behave according to their nature. For instance, we can say solid Sam is someone who will have very definite views, who will be very defined. And liquid Lucy is someone who goes with the flow of things, who is willing to take on the shape of anything that they are poured into, and who is open to different views and is willing to change shape, such a person. And for gas, Gary is someone who is very ethereal, who wants to evaporate, who is we give the traits of the material to the characters. And you can design any number of stories with these characters. We can say how, uh, we can put together a story where all these three characters are interacting with each other. What kind of dialogue will they tell? What kind of roles will they take on when heat arrives into the room? When heat arrives into the room, what will happen to a solid ice cube? And so will solid Sam change gender and become liquid Lucy? That is quite so interesting, right? Kids will find it fascinating. And will liquid Lucy, with the heat increasing, will she become gas Gary, evaporate? And leads to wonderful discussions about the nature of material. And the teacher can guide the classroom about the correct properties of these materials and how they react in the presence of extreme temperatures, whether very cold or very hot, and what happens. And easily a story can be built around these things. Now, I don't know if you have heard the story Gajapati Gulapati in here. It's a very famous book about an elephant, in which the elephant is. It's a very hot day in Tamil Nadu, and the elephant wants to go take a bath, and because it's so hot, he keeps saying, "Oh, it's so hot," and the wise grandma in the village, she advises, maybe all of you should go to the village pond and get into the water. And Gajapati Gulapati, the elephant, is loved by all the characters in the village. He is loved by the postman, he is loved by the flower seller, he is loved by the fruit vendor, he is loved by the children, he is loved by the teachers. So once Gajapati Gulapati wants to get into the pond, everybody else also wants to get into the pond and have a bath because they want to cool off from the hot day. And before you know what's happening, all of them have jumped into the pond. The teacher, the children, the postman, the flower seller, they're all in the pond. And finally, Gajapati Gulapati rolls in, say, gada, 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 and he rolls in. And he comes and splash, he jumps into the pond. Can you guess what happens? Everybody is thrown out of the water. Yes. And finally, Gajapati opens his eyes, fluttering to look, and all his friends who were in the water are not there. They've been thrown out so much out of the pond that they are on the branches of trees and on the roofs of nearby houses, but everybody is having a great time. And finally, the wise grandma says, "My God, you guys, you are doing it all wrong. Gajapati Gurupati should get into the water first, and then all of you should get into the water together with him, and then you will be able to have some fun times." Instead of Gajapati Gurupati getting in first and splashing all the water out of the pond. Now, the story, of course, continues, but I'm going to ask you what principle, science principle, comes to your mind when you hear this story? Can anybody tell me? It's a famous Archimedes. Yes, Aparna, you're right. It is Archimedes.
Volume, yeah.
Archimedes' principle. Archimedes' principle, which states that when an object is immersed in water, it is buoyed upwards by a force equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the object. So it's the same, the volume that goes into the water displaces the same amount of volume of water outside. So this is the Archimedes principle. And then it's called Archimedes because I think classically Archimedes is supposed to have done exactly the same thing that Gajapati the elephant did. He got into his bathtub and the bath overflowed. And that is what gave him the idea about the about volume and density and occupying space. So this is a very famous science concept. And we could use this story, Gajapati Gulapati, to explain about Archimedes' principle. Now, let us, there are similar stories about uh, you were about to answer but had a slight doubt. Yes, that is the problem. Many of us are so rustic in our science concepts, right? It takes a little bit of brushing up before we are confident to say something. I agree with you. I had to read a lot of definitions before I could be clear and write this do this workshop anyway. So what I'm trying to tell is we don't need to upgrade if we are going to be teaching teachers on how to teach science concepts. It is true. And also but the thing is we are not the teachers who are going to be teaching this the science subjects to the students. We are giving them the outline of how stories can be created by using the science concepts, and they are the people who are going to have to teach it to the class. So we are going to give them how to create stories. So this is one way, is by having characters, give them names, give them certain behavioral traits that are unique to them, and then we stick to the how they will act in the concept, and then that is how this character will behave in the story. Then this is works beautifully, because then the children will remember the quality of the characters and how they behave in this environment, and then they will remember how this character, what that trait that makes them unique, and what cause and effect it will have. And this, they will not need to remember a definition having learnt it by rote, but they will be able to tell by remembering the story. And this, I have a third, sorry, this is the second concept. This is the third concept. Now, the third concept is what I call the mystery structure. The mystery structure is when something strange happens. And then it is the students have to gather clues, data, and observations and observe the details. And then they have to explain the phenomena using the concept. The story drives the investigation. This is the third kind of story creation that the teacher can do. And for this, I think let us. Do you have any ideas what we can do? For instance, if we were to take the Newton's laws of motion, if you take the Newton's law for motion, the first one states, like, of course, when something is in movement or static, it remains in that state unless it is interrupted, right? It's called it remains in inertia. And the second is about the more force that is applied, the more acceleration something has. This is the second law. And the third law says when you have the equal and opposite action, where that we all know, when we bounce something against something else, there's an equal and opposite reaction in the opposite direction. So this also we know. Now, how do we explain this whole concept to a class so that they will help to remember, they will remember these concepts? For example, let us imagine we were having a skateboard competition in school. And if we were saying, like, imagine we are having a skateboard competition, and then we allocate the teams, team one, team two, and team three. And then we say, team one is going to be in a movement, in a constant motion. They are going to be traveling at the same speed without changing, without hitting any obstacles, and they're going to be going in the same speed. They are not going to increase or decrease, because it is the first law of Newton, where unless they have an impact, it is not going to change. Now, the second law says that the more you apply force, more acceleration. So using this law, the skateboarding teams decide how fast they want to go, how much speed they need to gather, and they can calculate, they can observe, and they can coach their teammates on how they can increase their speed, and on how much force to use so that they can accelerate faster. So this is something that they can gather data and information, put it together, and then they can prove that the second law of physics applies here. And then the third one is about the equal and opposite. Like when someone is on a skateboard and if they push the board back, it will move forward with greater speed, right? The faster you push back, the faster it is going to move forward. An equal and opposite reaction at the same time. So this can be used to explain the third law. And my sketching for the skateboard competition is a very rudimentary idea, and I am expecting that the teacher will have to use more calculations and allocate teams and ask kids to figure out which team will be faster, or which team will have to use more force, or which team will have to use more opposite reaction to gain more momentum and speed. And this is one way where the concept itself can be used to explain, and to at the same time data can be collected, observations can be made, and the phenomena can be explained. The whole phenomena that is happening, the science phenomena that is happening in front of them, it can be explained using the concept that is already understood. So this is the third way of storytelling that the teachers can use. So as I said, the first one was using the hero's journey concept. The second one is using the character itself by its traits can become a character in the story. And the third one is the mystery concept, where you collect data and observations, and you arrive at your own conclusions, and you learn the concepts by your observations. So these are the three techniques that we can use for storytelling. Now, storytelling works beautifully well for science subjects. Now, why do we want to do storytelling like this? Is because it activates emotion and curiosity in a child. And how do the teachers do this? Here are some great tips that we can use for the storytelling. Let us see. Let us say, if you were a teacher and if you wanted to educate your students on science stories, what is the first step you would use? Would anybody want to? You can type in the chat box or raise your hand and tell what is the first step that you would want to implement if you were going to start a science story.
Ma'am, would you like to stop the sharing, ma'am?
Is it open? Oh my God. Let me see. Oh, oh, oh. Isn't it off?
No, ma'am, it's still on.
It's still on?
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am. You just have to stop sharing. On
the
top, you'll be having, ma'am, top.
top.
On top, if you hover over your screen, it will say stop sharing.
Oh, I got it now. I'm sorry. I got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Better? Okay.
You were asking like what will be the first concept,
What
right?
would be the first step?
Step
First
or
step
concept?
first step as a teacher. If you were going to educate the kids on how science concepts, if you wanted to teach a science concept to your class, what would be the first step that you would do? First thing that you would. I think it would be a great idea if you start with first the mystery question. What is the concept that you want to teach? And you can frame it into like something that will arouse the students' curiosity, something that would make them want to know more. So, or that is a topic you're going to choose that day, and so you ask questions like, why does the moon change shape? When you see it first, the moon is in a sliver and it grows and then it becomes thinner. And if you ask such a question, and then we first ask the arouse the curiosity of the students by asking the question, and after that we introduce the topic, and we start assigning roles to the story characters, and then using one of the three formats we create a story. And once a story is created, we make it interesting by the characters interacting with each other. And how do we do this? We, as storytellers, we all know, especially we can borrow easily from Indian folklore. We can borrow characters like talking animals and wise grandmothers and traveling sages and Panchatantra. We know all these characters from Panchatantra tales. So using these kind of elements, we make it an interactive story with characters moving in and out of the story. Yes, Eric, please.
Yes, I would just like to name a method that you've been referring to, which is personification. That we can take elements from the natural world and personify them as characters, and then those characters can have motivations, they can have adventures. You've been talking about this the whole time, but I just thought I would add the label of personification.
Yes, thank you, Eric. Yes. Converting the element into a character, right? Personification. Beautiful. Thank you. And this is the easiest way for us to do. And then what happens is we come to the problem, the scientific problem, and we build suspense to reach the problem. And then after that, we can use some simple props. You can use just small name cards and other things where we can use it for the use it to explain the concept to the role play. Children can use it to play their roles, and then we do an enactment or role play of the concept. This can be done. And once a concept is being role played, we can have sound effects. Children can pretend to be running water, the hot sun, and the swaying trees, or the wind blowing, or animal sounds, and all this. And it is the teacher's job at this time to ask prediction questions. So, what do you think will happen next? Or you can ask, like, what do you think this character will do next? Things like that that will help in spiking the curiosity of the children and helping them to find answers. So, do you think something will float, or something will sink, or something will turn into a gas, or something will change color, or something will evaporate, things like that? And this is what will make the concept interesting. We can also use drawing boards, we can use comic strips, and we can use uh, we can even.
Hello, were you able to get someone to pick up the order?
Yeah, I will call them and I'll call you back.
Great, thank you very much. They're expecting someone to come at 7:30. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
So we use drawings and storyboards, and then we can even use comic strips. And the easiest is also to, as we said in the beginning, to create a biography for that character, for that leaf, or for water, or for the the story about the little dewdrop, the little dewdrop who was on a blade of grass, and she looked around, and she saw the beautiful blue sky and the green grass and the lovely color on the trees and the leaves, and the little bugs that were around her on the meadow, and the birds. They had so much color, and she looked at herself and she was so dissatisfied because she was colorless and she was transparent, and she had no color whatsoever, and she was totally upset. And she asked all of them, "Can I please borrow your color? Can you please give me the blue?" She asked the sky, and sky said, "Mm-mm." And she asked the insects, the beetle and the grasshopper, "Can you give me your color?" And they said, "No, we can't. We can't share our color with you." And she asked the kingfisher for the blue on his wings, and kingfisher did not want to share. Nobody wanted to share their color with the raindrop, with the little, the dewdrop. And then it was dawn, and the sky became slowly lighter and lighter, and the sun began to rise in the horizon. And the whole sky was stained with beautiful colors. And the dewdrop was admiring the colors on the horizon when one first ray of the sun comes over the horizon, passes through the dewdrop, and splits into the 7 colors of the rainbow, and casts a little rainbow, and the dewdrop begins to shine with all the colors of the rainbow. And all the creatures around her, the bugs and the little the creatures around her, they look at her with awe, and they realize that she had all the colors of the rainbow embedded within her, because she was capable of passing light through her and breaking it into all the colors of the spectrum. So this is one very popular story that we tell about the 7 colors. And in Indian mythology, we have how Surya, the sun god, he travels across the sky, and he has 7 horses. And all the 7 horses are of different color, and the 7 colors of the rainbow. And when they travel together across the sky, they become one incandescent white color. Though it is only during dawn and dusk when the light has to travel further and break up, then we see all the colors of the sun's rays, and we call it the 7 horses of of Surya, the sun god. So all these are stories that we can easily use, and uh, when we create such stories, we have to start with first identifying who is the main character in the story and what is the nature, as Eric just pointed out to us. If we are going to personify somebody, what is their trait? What is their nature? What is their character? And then using that, we have to continue with the story, sticking true to the nature of that element, that science subject. And then we ask, how does that react with other elements in the story? And what else was I to say? Yes. Now, for example, we can create stories like do you know the story Avangalima? Avangalima, where all the animals are hungry and they don't have food, and then they have to name the tree. And until and unless they find the name of the tree will not be able to give them the fruits that they need. So, basing on this kind of a story, we can ask that. Let us say, the all the animals in the jungle go to the. Let us say in a village we have uh, we can say we have a mango tree, and then the mango tree is in the center of the village, and then there's a big drought and there's no rain, and everybody, they go and they ask the tree, can you please give us some guidance on how we can bring rain? And then the villagers, the old grandmas and the older elderly people think of several ways where rain can be brought to the village. And once the knowledge is given to the people in the village try to implement these methods to bring rain. And then then finally rain will come, and then everybody is happy, the story comes to an end. So it is only up to the imagination of the teacher who is using these stories to explain science concepts, to make it interesting and make these things uh, 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 the interactive part, the dialogue part, the discussion, and also children can be allocated roles to play the different roles, to do the role playing of these things. So children can become they can either become the water droplet, or they can become the solid ice cube, or they can become the green leaf, or they can become the one of the 7 colors of the spectrum, or the class can be allocated different roles, and they will all join together in the enactment of the story, which makes the science come alive for them. And this is basically how we can convert concepts into stories. And what we can do is we can do I think we all know the story of Go to Sleep Gecko by Margaret Mead MacDonald. Go to Sleep Gecko, where this is about ecology and the food chain, where the little gecko he tries to fall asleep, but he can't because the fireflies have a light on their tail, and they are lighting up on and off throughout the night, and he's not able to fall asleep. So he thinks the fireflies are doing it on purpose, and they are keeping him awake, and he's complaining to them, please shut off your light, I need to fall asleep. But the fireflies are not listening to him. And Gecko gets very angry, and he goes to the village headman, who is the elephant. And he says, Elephant, you have to come and you have to tell the fireflies to stop their light because they are preventing me from falling asleep. And Elephant says, Okay, Gecko, go to sleep now. I will talk to the fireflies in the morning. And when he goes and talks to the fireflies say, Elephant, do you know why we keep our light on throughout the night? It's because the whole of the jungle is full of piles of poop that the bison has left. And we don't want anyone to step on them and slip and fall. Elephant says, My God, this is really important. We don't want anybody stepping on the piles of poop and slipping and fall and hurt themselves. And when there is no light, this will happen. So please, guys, don't stop your lighting up the pathways at night. Keep it going. And I will talk to Gecko. And the next day, again, Gecko complains and says, Elephant, did you talk to the fireflies? Elephant says, Yes, I did. But they are lighting the fire, they are lighting the pathways, and because they don't want anyone to fall and hurt themselves. And immediately Gecko says, okay, then you should go talk to Bison. Bison is the one who's creating the issue. And so Elephant goes and talks to Bison. And Bison says, Elephant, you don't know what actually I am doing. The pathways are full of potholes. It rains every single day, and there are potholes all over the jungle. And when animals go fast across the jungle pathways, they might put their hoof inside and trip and fall. I am doing my best by filling the potholes with poop so that nobody will step onto those potholes and fall down. Now the elephant comes back with this answer to the Gecko, and Gecko says, "Oh, if it is not the bison's fault that there are potholes, then it is a problem. It is a fault of the rains. Why are the rains coming down all the time and creating potholes? You should talk to the rains and tell them not to and tell the rains not to rain every day and rain potholes on the jungle floor." And the elephant says, okay, patiently, of course, goes and talks to the rains and says, Guys, you are raining so much, there are so much potholes, and everyone is afraid that they might step on the potholes and hurt themselves. So Bison is filling it up with poop, and the fireflies are lighting up the pathways, and Gecko is not able to fall asleep. And do you know what rain says? Rain says, only if I rain every single day and the potholes fill with water, there will be mosquitoes. And only if there are mosquitoes, Gecko will have his food. Gecko loves eating mosquitoes. He eats them by the hundreds. And Gecko loves eating mosquitoes. So he has to choose. Does he want to have a full belly and eat his food? Or does he want to sleep peacefully? Which is it that he wants? If he wants food, then everything has to go on as it has been going on so long. The fireflies have to light up the path, the bison has to fill it up with poop, and the potholes will be there. And only then will Gecko get his lunch. Otherwise, there will be no mosquitoes. And after having said this, Gecko realizes, so does he want to be hungry or is he okay? Can he fall asleep without complaining? And he realizes it is easier to fall asleep without complaining rather than remaining hungry. You would rather not, you just close your eyes and you can fall asleep, but you can't be without eating, right? So Gecko realizes it's more important to eat. And so the whole ecosystem continues as it is before without any disturbance because the whole thing is a chain. One depends on the other. And if it was not there, then the whole chain will collapse. And the food chain, once it collapses, species are left without food, right? And loss of food will create loss in numbers also. They will become much diminished, much reduced in numbers, and the environment itself will change. So this is a story that is written by Margaret Mead MacDonald. It's a book. I think even Tulika has a copy. It's called Go to Sleep Gecko. And it's a Balinese folk tale. And if you can use this very much in the science classroom. The same kind of a story can be used in a kind of a food chain mystery kind of a story, where, for example, we can say, like, when the sun comes out and the grass begins to grow, the grasshoppers can eat the grass, but there are also frogs that will eat the grasshoppers, and there will be snakes that eat the frogs, and there will be eagles that will eat the snakes. So the food chain continues, and we can ask the class to discuss if something in this food chain is disturbed, it is not available, or it is decimated in number, then what happens? And how do that creature find food? And how will they survive? And what will happen if the food chain is broken? What will be the result ultimately? So this is a discussion for the class when we talk about food chains and how any break in the natural order of things will cause a total disruption. And having said this, and shall I say, we can even form stories like, for example, we can say like about the moon and the phases of the moon. For example, we can say how the class, there's somebody curious and they wants to know how the moon phases keeps changing from being a sliver to a full moon and then again back on. And then we can start the story by borrowing from Panchatantra, where we have a wandering sage. And the wandering sage, he goes and he tells a story of the moon, who visits different areas in the cosmos. And because he keeps traveling, and sometimes he comes between the sun and the earth, how it looks as if actually he is not in any way losing his shape, but it is the shadow that is cast that makes him look as if he is losing his shape. And we can explain, what can we explain to the class? So things like how the sky, the earth, and the sun, they play their role in the cosmos. And children can be given the task of, let's say, like say a comet travels across the solar system through the planets, and how it interviews every planet and says, what are your qualities? What is your color? What are the gases you have? What are the elements you have? And it's a very, very easy way to explain the solar system to the class. So these are some basic ideas that teachers can use to develop several concepts that we discussed right at the beginning. So having said this, shall we have a breakout room where I would require, let us say, uh, 2 or 3 people in each breakout room, where we could consider ourselves as teachers having to teach a science subject to kids. And we can choose any one concept, and you can choose one story structure. And after, you can give a very brief outline of the story and how it can be told. And then you can finally prescribe one student activity that the class can do to understand this concept. So, Eric, can you create the breakout rooms, please?
Yes. Yes, just a moment. Okay. Okay, I'm putting you in breakout rooms, but if nobody is there with you, just come back to the main room. Okay? So this will be for what, about 5 or 10 minutes?
Yes, Eric, for 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, here we go.
Kritika, and we discussed about pollination. Sri, would you like to share it with the group? Would you like to, please?
Yeah, I think we were interested in teaching the concept of pollination to preschoolers, so it has to be something not too um, um, simplified in a way so that preschoolers can understand and also more concrete. So we use the metaphor of a delivery man going house to house to deliver parcels, and parcels in themselves are like little gifts, and every child likes receiving gifts, right? So the idea of a bee as a delivery man delivering um, um, pollen parcels, perhaps, yeah. And then yeah, we did say, getting honey as money, but in actual fact, they don't get honey, they get nectar. That is the science concept, but ultimately that nectar becomes honey. Yeah. So yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sri. Kritika, would you like to add to that? Are you there?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it was really fun about exploring. For me, the takeaway was about how do you stop being too preachy, as well as how do you create stories for the level of the students. So that was a very interesting conversation.
Would any other group want to share your story with us?
I'm from room 4, and I was with Nina. We looked at the science concept of different types of soil. And Nina will tell the story, but what we found interesting was when we came to the activity and the students are going to do gardening to discover the different types of soil, we also realized, like they work in the Rudolf Steiner world of curriculum, the concept could spread into geography, music, and other subjects very easily. So I'll allow Nina to tell the story of the wonky vegetables that she wrote.
So I'll just quickly share the story that I wrote. It's about wonky vegetables. We often see deformed vegetables, but we have never thought why the vegetables look deformed. So we were discussing about the soil texture. So this story is about the carrot narrating the story why he or I published this on Pratham Story Weavers. I hope my screen is visible. So this is a wonky vegetable. Though I mentioned it creating awareness about not looking at different things because just because they look deformed. So so this is a wonky vegetable, and the wonky vegetable, the carrot is narrating, why we are called wonkies. So we are called wonky vegetables because of our deformed look. Normally, as carrots, we need sunlight, loamy or fertile soil, water, and moderate temperature. And then the carrot is asking about the different types of soil. They're sandy, clay, peat, loamy. And now the reason why they have been wonky. So for plants to grow well, the soil should contain no solid matter, such as stone, lump, stick, etc. And the soil should be smooth and fine. And how can we make these soil loose? So to keep the soil loose, lots of compost and organic matter. And what happens to the roots if the soil is not smooth and fine? So if the soil is not smooth and fine, the presence of objects like stone, lumps, anything that comes in between, they deform the roots. So the roots don't get enough space to grow as they intend to, and thus that affects the shape of the vegetables. So this is why the vegetable looks wonky, not because of fault of theirs, but because of the fault of us not doing it. So what we thought is even the pollination plays a role, the insects plays a role. So these are the science concepts that we try to bring in. So where the children, when we have the gardening, when we talk about experiential learning, when they go for gardening activity outside, so the immediate action is to sow the seed. So we tell them how we have to do step by step, tell them how to do it. And also by sowing the seed, first make the soil, the formation of soil neat and soft. And then also while sowing the seed, not immediately pop out, tell them the level or the height, how much deep the seed can be sown. So this is what we were working through. And so we went through the geography, the tropical, the regions where these plants, they grow, the temperature that they need. So this is what, that we connected with science, geography, topography, and even the soil songs. So thank you so much, Vasugi ma'am, for this
Thank you, Reena. That was lovely. How you connected all these subjects together in one story. It was amazing. I think group three, Vasanti, you wanted to also say.
Yeah, all four of us together.
Yes.
Or four in the group.
Please tell us.
It was a Sunday evening, rather late, and there was no power, and the inverter was not working. So we were panicking. Mommy, Mommy, what do we do now? The moon was shining bright. Can we all go down and play? What? You want to go down and play? Oh, you'll find mosquitoes and it is dirty. Not really worth going down. But there is Mari with us, who comes from the neighborhood village, and Mari has something to say.
Hello, friends. I'm Mari. Okay, nice meeting you all. And you know what? I'm just surprised. When the current goes off, what do you people do? What do you do actually? You know what I do? What we do in the villages, me and my friends, we go to the mango tree, we sit there, and the breeze, we enjoy the breeze. We play under the tree, and you know what? We pluck mangoes, and the smell when we pluck the mangoes, you should come to my village and you should enjoy it. I want you to come and enjoy. And walking in the soil, that is a great experience. I want you all to come to my village next time in the holidays.
Walking bare feet on the ground? Oh my mom will never allow it. Insects will bite us. Oh, mangoes come from mango tree, you say? We always order and it just comes with some delivery person who will bring mangoes to my house. But you are telling me that mango comes from a tree.
Oh, yes, yes.
Where milk comes from.
Oh, you don't know that? Do you think it comes from the oven booth? No, it comes from a cow. You should come to my village and know all this. I think you should learn a lot. Real life experience. Come with me.
Where does milk come from? We have one more person who thinks milk
Yes,
comes.
yes.
It's dropped off. Milky girl, where are you?
Okay, I will take it up.
Yeah?
Ma, it's me, the cow. And you know what? You get milk from me. And from once they milk the from me, they take it to the processing thing and you get it in packets. It's not just from the Instamart or from the oven packets. Okay, there's a lot of process being done, but I'm the Gomata. I'm the Kamadenu who gives milk. I'm the original source of milk. Myself and my friend Buffalo also.
Really? Gorgeous. Let's all go to Mari's village and smell the mangoes and see the Gomata. Lovely. Shall we go down now, mommy? Oh, really? No. You might still get bitten. You just stay here, mom. No, ma, I want to go with Mari. All of us want to go with Mari and walk on that land on our bare feet. Come on, guys and girls, let's walk down.
Yes,
Thank you.
let's all go together and enjoy nature.
Come with me.
Yes, that's our story, introducing the, about nature and the importance of nature and the plant kingdom also. So,
Thank you. Thank you, Group 3. You did an amazing job. I think all the groups had come up with individual and different kinds of stories, which will work very well in the classroom. And I like to thank everybody for having participated in this workshop. And Eric, thank you once again for this opportunity for conducting this workshop. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It was a wonderful workshop. Thank you very much.